Yeah. Hi. Hey, everybody. We're live. At least I told Samuel I was hitting the live button.
That's
Did
true.
I?
That's true. I'm not checking. So if we trust Stuart, we're live.
Welcome back, everybody.
Yes.
Today we're talking about the Borg, the Swedish delight, and why they're so iconic.
Yes. What, where, how, and who? Because
Yeah, should be a fun discussion.
they've transcended a bit, which is great, and they haven't been around for a long time. Now, yes, they were Borg in Picard, but they weren't really Borg. They were, for the most part, either. I mean, Borg Queen was fine, but like, that's the character versus a persona. Now they're back versus back.
The Borg are back in town.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Borg are back in town.
Pretty much.
Yep.
I'll start sharing.
Yep.
See you in a minute.
Go share. Go do it. 12 people here with 12 likes. Amazing. Everybody hit like. If you have not hit like, please hit it. We'd really appreciate that. Super chats are very welcome. We want to hear your thoughts on this discussion about the Borg. Oh my god, it's a Borg. Yeah, take part in the conversation, help to support the channel. Click that join button if you're able to, and look at your options to help us on a monthly basis, or head on over to Patreon/Trekyards, where you can do the same thing. A little bit every month really makes a big deal, and joining the channel is also super important. So if you can, please do so. We'd really appreciate that. So yeah, welcome back, everybody. And check the links down below as well in the description for Teespring and TeePublic Store. We got a lot of cool Trekyards merch. We need to do a Trekyards Borg, I think, at some point. Some kind of Trekyards Borg shirt would be interesting. So anyway, let's wait for Samuel to be done here, and then we'll get right into this, talking about things, stuff, and things. So Picard essentially ruined them, Borg. Howdy, think this is my very first live I've made it to. Well, welcome, Wheeler Dave. Good to see you. Thank you for joining us. Glad you could make it to a live. We do them all the time, usually around this time of the day. So by all means, come back and check us out and visit us some other time as well. I also do late night ones, which are like 10 Eastern Standard Time generally. And those are fun. They're just like a hangout and discuss whatever is on your guys' minds. So always fun, different formats, and just different things going on. So welcome. To show any show of resistance would be futile, Captain. Commander Spock. Captain James D. Kirk in Star Trek, the motion picture. Oh my god, Spock was infected by the Borg. Alright.
That's a big old sneeze that was.
Well, we didn't hear it, so good job.
Yes.
Ozzy throws in $2.
Thank you.
We're the Borg. You'll be assimilated into Trekyards. That's the plan. Trekyards Collective, otherwise known as Trekyardians.
Yes.
Trekyardians of the galaxy.
Unite. Alright, I'm going to start a poll then.
A poll. Ooh, very nice. We like the polls. Well, the audience does. That's what I'm saying. So yeah. We need to do a Trekyards Borg-inspired shirt, I think. That'd be kind of cool. We need to do a shirt brainstorming session. We really do. I've been saying that for a while now. But, yeah. Let's see. All right.
Ask away.
All right. Well, are the Borg your favorite Star Trek? Yes, Borg. Oh, that closes on me. Nope, Klingons are the best. Nope, someone else.
Now, what do you think once I throw that out as a statement? Do they win a top slot for you if you had to pick? There's obviously all the...
No, they don't.
Okay. There's all the minutiae of the single episodes or the way they evolve, etc. Okay, so where would they factor in, do you think, on your pantheon of Star Trek baddies for you personally?
I mean, they're up near the top, but they're not the top slot. They, I prefer more cunning opponents as opposed to just mindless, non-stoppable foes, you know? So, But yeah, they're up there. I don't know. If you give me a list of 10,
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
they'd be in the top five. So
Mm.
speaking of, that would make a great top 10 live. Also, last night somebody asked some of my favorite sci-fi weapons. We should do a top 10 sci-fi weapons
Ooh.
live. I think that's a good idea.
Yeah.
How about you? Do they rank as your number one?
I mean, no, but iconically, they're super high. I think the Klingons are the best just because their overall cultural impact, and they can be good and bad and in between. That's a fun dynamic to have, you know.
Yeah.
But the Borg certainly, as they're probably the best alien baddie. By that I mean a non pure dude woman with stuff on their face, because there is more to them. They are still at the core that, but there's a lot more to that. They aren't just a Ferengi or just a Bajoran or just a Romulan. Then you get into things like Species 472, where even more alien, but as kind of the hybrid. They'd be ranked up for that. They add oomph to it, but they're certainly memorable. Or I was gonna say overused. Maybe, well, it's weird. Cause it's weird to think of them in their different eras, because each show treat them differently and their evolution differently, and how they feel about them now, etc.
Patrick Westmore has joined the channel to rank Commander, so thank you, Commander.
Thank
Welcome
you.
aboard.
And not to say you're related to the famous Westmore, but the famous Westmore did Borg makeup for decades as the talented person he is.
I just find the Borg started off being quite terrifying and unnerving, and very quickly got dumbed down to be more complex, and therefore, due to their complexity of having like a queen and like a unimatrix and stuff, made them more vulnerable. So they were kind of on this trajectory of becoming less and less scary, which I just kind of liked them when we initially saw them, just mindless. They won't stop like zombies, they just keep coming. That's more terrifying to me than having, being instructed by a queen and all that. And I know it's a hive mind. They're trying to tie it into ants and like bees and such. But I think adding the queen was a mistake, because she instantly becomes the target. You take out the queen, you take out the Borg. And there might be more than one queen, but it's still, it's an Achilles heel. I liked that they didn't have one at first. Like when we first got introduced to them by Q, they were just terrifying because they just kept coming, So that's my thoughts on that anyway.
Well, yeah.
What do you think about the Borg Queen idea?
Although briefly back on the zombie idea for a second, that's a great parallel, because when there's all sorts of films out there, start from John Romero's zombie type, and a lot of films go with the simple person gets infected, they walk slowly, they try and eat your brains. That is the entire villainary ability. Then you have things where they're really infected, they can jump, they can become powerful as they eat more, they can do all these extra things, and that is used to create more tension in our heroes, because they can't just shoot it in the head and be done. And you don't, if you're low budget, you can't necessarily hire 500 extras to create an iconic numbers scene.
Yeah.
But I assume then in a similar way, zombie films for you that are more complicated than the basic are therefore more dull, because they've taken away the simplicity, the fear factor.
Yeah, the mindless, plodding along zombies that just don't stop. You blow an arm off, they just keep coming.
Yeah.
Blow their legs off, they keep pulling their torso towards you. That's scary as shit. Whereas if it is something as simple as like you need to eliminate this pathogen, or you need to go and get this, this virus released into the air that would, heal them, it becomes less scary, because there's an answer. It's when you don't know there's an answer and they just are unrelenting and just don't stop. That's more scary to me. Absolutely.
But are they, in those situations, ever truly the villain? Because if all they can do is move forward, where's the villainy? Where's the it's about the characters then. Exactly. So in episodes when you start out with TNG, they have the voice, they have the collective voice. That's what gives you a sense of purpose. The voice is what tells Picard and the crew, we will be assimilated. It's not just passively coming at you plus assimilation. So even though they were, in theory, zombies, as soon as you've added that initial voice, which means single structure and purpose, they're not zombies anymore. So was that one was too complicated? Would you prefer them if they were just without that voice, without that amalgamation? They would literally, almost like a disease, they were just microbes, nanoprobes infecting beings and spreading like a virus. Or then do you need that initial, that hive mind voice, just not a voice within the voice? I don't think you've ever realized that before. There is still a single voice concept inside it.
I know that there's one that directs them, but I mean, honestly, I wouldn't want the voice eliminated. I like the multi-layered voice, but filtered through a queen or being directed by a queen. It's just like, okay, well, let's go take the queen out.
But is it the queen is there as an amalgam of the Borg? The queen isn't there to control the Borg. The queen is the Borg. There is no the queen. There is the queen is the Borg.
So it's just, the queen is the Borg, and all the drones are just her tentacles and her tools.
Yes.
Well, that's not scary. You take her out, they're done.
Well, no, because
because
they are what she is. She is a creature that's interfacing with trillions. She is only made up of those trillions. You kill her, you still got the trillions. They just put a new queen, which will be a clone of the other one, because that's what they need to function. It's not a single being controlling the Borg. It's the Borg are a thing, and they're creating something to help structure it. But the thing is what she is. That's why killing a queen means nothing. It might slow them down until they put a new one on. But if I was doing a queen story, I'd have a Borg queen literally operational the next second. Kind of like you download, is it like a Cylon? Exactly a Cylon. They die, download the main line directly into a local construct. Boom, done. Like literally, they would almost like I'd always make a joke out of, wow, that took 1.3 nanoseconds. That's too long. Fix it for next time. It has to be like, you know what I mean? Like that's how I would interpret it. And I kind of wish we'd seen like an Arnold Schwarzenegger style scene in the factories in Salvation of just a row of Alice Kriegs, and just one turns on. I think that would have been a really good scene to kind of, because it would not devalue the single queen, because a single queen like a Wayun can go rogue if they become more sentient. Fine, I like that as a concept, but it's kind of fun to show, well, they're just a representation of the stranded thing. They aren't it. It isn't them. There is many of them. I'm kind of sorry we never got that, honestly.
Well, my understanding and sorry about my dogs.
Yes.
My understanding and my kind of headcanon is that there are like 2 or 3 Borg queens all active at the same time as redundancies, but they're sectors apart. Like they control kind of their area, and again, that kind of is compartmentalizing and like making it less scary as well. But I don't know if we ever got an answer to that, how many Borg queens there were, if there are more than one. So
again, I wouldn't say they don't control it, but they help manage it.
Yes.
Especially as their whole point is to assimilate, and therefore it's not her choice to assimilate, they just need to assimilate. It's almost like just a need, single purpose, etc.
Well, most good villains, though, they think they're doing the right thing, and the Borg are aiming for perfection, which is probably unattainable. But I don't know. I think they added the Queen to put a face to the Borg instead of just,
not just a face, Stuart.
A body.
We know why they did it. We know exactly why they did it in First Contact.
Yeah, well. And you think that they would evolve and change. That just makes sense because they're going to be assimilating new worlds all the time, new technologies. We kind of talk about that a little bit in this last episode review. And that could be why the cubes change appearance to get better tech that just they incorporate in. And so I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I still, one of my favourite records was our Borg Cube or Borg Ship episode where we did all them in order, and if you take them as a literal one-at-a-time order, you can see a genuine extrapolatable evolution of their tech. yes, the concept was evolving, but if you take actually each step as defined the next one, then Hugh goes into the Borg, he actually creates the Queen as a concept. His individuality helps spawn the need for a Queen. Now we don't know when everything was created, and Best of Both Worlds was retconned with First Contact, etc. But if you go back a little bit further and say maybe just another alien was added in, I think Aaron said that.
Yeah. Sci-fi science interest throws in £1. Thank you so much. They also go. Sci-fi science interest throws in £5. To quote Captain Jake, the Borg are a hive mind. You get one Borg to party, you get the whole Borg to party. Night crew. Hi, Captain and Commander. Hello. Welcome.
That's a rare reference. I like it.
But see, the thing is, the Borg could, if humanity is the thing that's, they want to get kind of arrogant of us, but they want to, they have troubles with us. Yes, going back in time in First Contact was a good attempt to assimilate Earth to the past, but if that didn't work, which it didn't, just go back in time again to a different planet, not during a battle where somebody can follow you, and assimilate Earth 1,000,000 years ago.
Well, I mean, you've got to hope, Stuart, that the whole reason First Contact happened is because it had to happen to create the NX-01, to create the timeline. So Daniels said, okay, we have to let this Borg incursion happen, and we're going to stop every other Queen from 2003 to 2645. So they constantly kill Queens. Like, there's basically, you're right, every single week a new Queen says, oh, I've got a great idea, I'll try and attack them from the future. Oh, Daniels kills them. Because relativity could kill any Borg ship of any era pretty easily. So,
but you got to think, once that plan is created to go back in time and assimilate Earth of the past, that's going to always be there, whether it fails or not. It's not like the Queen dies, so we forgot about it, because everybody in the collective has that knowledge. And how many Starfleet officers did they assimilate? Like, they would have so much knowledge. They would have captains. They would have Earth defense codes up the wazoo. Yes, they'd all be changed. I understand that, but it just seems they're ineffectual to a point. Before they were scary. You get assimilated, your ship gets assimilated, and all of your knowledge is now theirs, and they're just going to move forward relentlessly, and that very quickly got stopped. So I don't know how I feel about it.
I mean, you would have thought, Best of Both Worlds was the example. One captain was taken, and they were able to kill every ship in the fleet. So all they have to do is assimilate another captain, and they'll get all the updated version, or go to a shipyard and assimilate one engineer that knows how all weapons work. Boom, you've now got unlimited, for that day, unlimited defense, and then kill another thing. Yeah.
Wheeler Dave, who this is his first live that he's caught. Throws in $3 with a thumbs up pair. Doing this. So thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. Very kind. Good.
And it's time for an ad, apparently, because YouTube said so. That was an awesome ad. Were you assimilated by that ad? Was the Resistance futile? Have you bought this thing? Let us know.
Well, I already own 7, so.
Wow, you own 7 of those?
What can I say? They got me in the first ad. It's an old brand.
You're so happy you bought the company. You're the president of that company now.
Because if they'd continued on the line of the first episode, which really does go to Best of Both Worlds, surely Best of Both Worlds 2 should have happened by episode 4, where another Borg cube comes in.
Yep.
And there's no fleet anymore, and then Earth gets killed.
Yep.
Oh, no, Earth space dock destroys it, because it should be able to, it should be powerful enough. And then Best of Both Worlds 3, episode 5, another cube comes in, and they're dead. Like, that would be the end of the season, because by the third time, there's not even any ships left. It's not even about adapting, it's about they run out of ships. You can't fight them anymore.
That's the other thing. They have so many Borg ships, and they have transwarp. You think they would just, like...
Yep.
I understand allocating your resources, but,
Well, let's be fair.
Come on.
Even 20, even inverted commas 20 spheres should be more than enough.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah. So why didn't they do that? What is their like? I don't understand.
I mean, really, every season should have been a Borg attack.
Yeah.
Now you could say that they were always fighting another bigger race, like A472, which clearly distracted them. And I would kind of like that if there was some weird retcon in Voyager where they said, where Janeway says, "But why, Alice Krieg? Why do you not fight? Why do you not come attack Earth 8 or 9 times?" Well, every year we pissed someone new off. You were the first. Lost people between you, and if I took 4 years to come back and attack you. But we killed them all, don't worry. Haha. You know, yeah, an interesting retcon.
Yeah. Also, we saw what they did to Earth of the past. How when they showed up there, it was the continents, like the air was full of methane or whatever, and the continents all had like interlacing Borg things over them. You think there would be so many assimilated planets just everywhere in the Delta Quadrant, like because they take out a species, they assimilate its culture, they turn that homeworld into a Borg one. Did we ever run across any? No, we saw like planets that were devastated by the Borg.
Well, they explicitly said we avoided Borg space. There was actually dialogue in the show where they said we skirted around at all costs. So you're not going to fly into it intentionally.
Wow.
And as soon as they would know they're near Borg space, they would make a trade, as they do often, to get star maps, where they would say, "Don't go over there!" So I'm fine with that. I mean, you can have like a random spy planet or secret planet, fine. But they just specifically avoided that stuff.
Yeah.
But are we just exaggerating the amount of ships they have? I mean, we both, I think, would assume they'd have several thousand ships, if not tens of thousands. I mean, like of the big ships, then thousands of the small ships, like just the cube variant. But do they even need that many? I mean, are we assuming they have that many? Maybe they are so focused on. Maybe there's almost a limit to how much they can process to keep it focused. Maybe they only have like 100 cubes because they're so intricate to work on.
Well, okay, I buy that a little bit. We did see all the ships around Unimatrix Zero. Like, there's a lot. That's the hub. That's the main base, right?
There's only maybe 15 or 20 cubes max because they couldn't.
That we saw.
Oh, sure. But
I'm just saying. Yeah. In games like Starfleet Armada 2, they actually assimilate your ship. Like your ship becomes Borgified, and they start using it. So they should have an endless fleet of ships, honestly, from all the planets and civilizations that they assimilate.
But they would
But as you said, just like in Armada 2, you only have a certain number of officers. Once you hit a certain number of ships, you can't make any more ships because you don't have enough officers. And Armada 1, you can create new officers. In Armada 2, you can't. It's really annoying because you got this huge armada, and it's like any more ships. So maybe it's a control limit thing. But you think that they'd have?
But it isn't always about efficiency. Because would they want to just make more people if they get slower and less able to control them, and work as a hive? Maybe they would say we can add 4 billion more drones a year, but only 4 billion. We've got to be very careful what we do, because it'll actually make us weaker as a collective. Because if the idea is being perfect, more for the sake of more isn't necessarily the point. And also, if it's about assimilating other races' ships, wouldn't the first thing be to get them transwarp able and then send them back to a planet or base to get disassembled into raw materials? Because wouldn't it be more useful to have a raw material based the raw materials than a random ship that Borg Cube could take on anything? Why would you try and maintain a fleet of Andosian war frigates that are tiny and only okay? Yeah. Why not take the resources?
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Makes sense, but you got to get those ships back there, right? So, but in the meantime, when you're moving forward and you're expanding, you take over a civilization, you just assimilate the ships.
But I also think that most Borg are in the Delta Quadrant, because that's kind of the point where they are. So if everyone is only a bit away from Borg space, then they can improve the warp drive as they did in the NX era, hop them back. We don't really see them in the Alpha Quadrant very much. That was kind of the point. so they've got transwarp to us, which is a very distinct choice. They're not just there's never a point where they're just assimilating planets in the Alpha Quadrant, not even once, which is weird because they think they would. So maybe they're just like, well, we're busy expanding the Delta Quadrant. We only send attack ships to the Alpha Quadrant when we need to, so therefore every ship is within 10,000 light years of any Borg base, and if you can enhance the warp drive to warp, 9.999999999, no need for stopping. Every Borg ship could be zipping home. Don't have to stop. I mean, they said Voyager could get home in like 40 years if it just kept going. Or whether it knows.
Yeah.
No, 70,000 light years. How long was it?
70 years to get back.
Okay, so it was 40 years at full warp the whole time, and they could easily go higher than that. So yeah, just some ideas there.
Matthew DeFreitas, $5. I think the Borg are iconic because of what they did to Picard. If we don't see Picard's assimilation and torture, we don't have that fear. I wouldn't say it was torture by any means. It was not Golovec or whatever the hell his name was. There are 4 lights. But
it was evil Gorgon.
Yeah. His assimilation, again, was quite scary at the time, but the instant and easy, well, not instant, but the easy reversal of it really defanged the Borg, I think. And then even later in First Contact, it's like, it's Ensign Lynch. Fuck Ensign Lynch. He's dead. We can't get him back.
No matter what.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah, like, that bugged me immensely. I don't know, man. It just... And then everybody becomes Borgified at some point, like Janeway, Tuvok, and then it's easily reversible. And Phlox even found a cure for the Borg nanites, for Christ's sakes. I don't know. See, not being able to be brought back would have been more scary, obviously. Because once you do that, you set that precedent that, we can bring anybody back, essentially.
Well, yeah, I mean, Locutus was embarrassing how quick. I mean, yes, it scarred him, but that's more what he did rather than the process of what happened to him.
Yeah, that's mental torture. It's not torture.
But they undid it, I mean, as effortlessly as they could have made it for a non-serialized show, really. And they had no special parameters to keep him from being assimilated. At least in Voyager, they make a very specific case of they actively do everything they can in their 5 years of knowing about the Borg to have anti-Borg assimilation stuff inside their body to then let them go back. Also too easy, but at least they try and address that in some way. Which is going to need some great scenes of them being Borg, on a Borg ship. Really cool, really, really cool stuff. So yeah, it's not that hard to undo. You could argue the longer they're assimilated, the more entangled you are, but he was pretty teched on. I certainly would have thought, the first time watching Best of Both Worlds, if they hadn't have shown him back at the end of part 2, I would have assumed they'd cut off his hand to put the new...
Yeah.
Why
exactly.
Would you, he's not going to be controlled like this. He's going to be cut off his hand. So I was kind of surprised he actually got his hand back, because do they grow a new hand? An arm?
Yeah.
Yeah? No? They don't address it.
Possibly.
I mean, the prosthetic is quite awkwardly large. I mean, it's a bit embarrassing how stupid it... It's like this long. I am because he's holding a bigger prosthetic. Fine, he's holding it.
Matthew DeFreitas goes on to say they rip his body apart. No, they don't. They do nothing of the sort.
If only they did.
So no, it's not that kind of physical torture at all. And it could have been. I mean, if he was in there longer, maybe they would have eventually done that. But
well, I think if they had actually ripped his arm off, we'd seen it. And you have a scene next episode where he's like, "This is not my hand. Look, it's still based on your DNA, John Luke. Doesn't feel right." Like a genuine, legitimate, they took something from me for real. This is not...
This is not my body. This is an android. What the hell?
Yeah. Thanks, Jacques Vache. And whatever he called. Because that would have felt permanent. The mental scars, obviously, yes. But genuinely losing the arm... That's why there's some really gross stuff in Voyager and Picard where they genuinely do brutal things. They take out eyes. Those, again, that eyepiece, the laser, you assume they've ripped his eye out. Why the hell to go on top? It's a but it's not. If it was, if he had a prosthetic eye his entire life, that's really, really impressive. And
Yeah.
So they actually avoided that body horror stuff very specifically.
Yeah. Sebastian, €5. The Breen are my favorite baddies, followed by the Romulans. Don't forget the Tholians. I like the Tholians too.
Tholians, underused in all media. That is my opinion. And I've
keep in mind, I did say Tholians, not Bolians. Because Bolians aren't scary.
Unless they get your hair wrong on purpose, then you're like, I can't ever go back here. You know, they've really... And you know how dangerous scissors can be, so maybe they are pretty scary, Stuart.
Yeah. 39 people watching, 31 likes, guys. Hit that like button and contribute to the conversation. What do you guys think? How does the Borg become less scary over time? And then they did. Like, I think from Best of Both, a bit less scary. You could actually deal with them and kind of make, like negotiate. Scary. They shouldn't be able to negotiate with them. Then First Contact comes along. And re-amplifies the terror of them a little bit, because they're much more like zombies in that movie.
A lot of it.
Yeah. So I don't know. It's been a weird roller coaster with them.
And then you get,
and it could be that if they assimilate a very peaceful culture, maybe they tone down a bit, and then assimilate somebody like the Romulans, and it's like, oh, now we're bad again. I don't know how that works necessarily, depending on how many people in the civilization, but
every Zengon brings you a new month of peace. Yeah. No, it's tricky, because then you get the Star Trek Picard Borg, and the entire point is to make you feel sorry for them and sympathise with them, where they've all, because they can't obviously be the Borg we know, they are all mutilated with these giant body scars, and you feel for them physically, and then they massacre 10,000 Borg left in the chambers and don't care and move on. So they're both human, and also, who cares, kill them, despite showing there's entire reason for fixing them. And again, as you say, Picard was fine, Janeway was fine, Tuvok was fine, Seven relatively fine. I mean, Seven in Picard certainly internal stuff, but exterior, I mean, she's fine. Like, there's not that much left, etc.
Well, Jared says maybe Seven had a false eye after being rehuman.
Yeah, she did.
She did.
That's what they use in Timeless to talk to the past. They use her skull with an eye in it. It ain't a human eye. Because Seven's a better example of, they did genuinely mutilate her. Her body is too intertwined with the Borg, but that's when they were doing internal stuff. I don't know if I ever considered this, but I suppose the TNG Borg, would you agree with this? They were more presented as replacing organic with tech on top of. More so. And then they're like white zombies with stuff on. Versus there were no nanoprobes yet. You wouldn't necessarily think there's thousands of micro machines in their body as well doing stuff. You'd think, well, no, they've got stuff on top. They got attached. They got,
no, absolutely. I think that the TNG ones are very representative of that for sure. And later we get more cybernetic, where it's like replacing actual meat and bone with like,
And then you get the idea of nanoprobes, which entirely changes the game, because now you're being Borgified from the inside. Red blood cells are going green, etc. That's a DNA change almost, in essence. Yeah. I do love the way the makeup is, with like green and black, and you can see the veins. So that's cool. It means every vein is coursing with technology. That's why the outside's almost more simple, because it's a shell, it's a construction. You can imagine if their lungs been removed, and now they've got mega lungs, and they can now breathe methane. It becomes much more of a body horror versus zombies with additional elements.
Sergeant Montgomery says they can beam 40,000 light years.
Well, again now.
For tons of ships.
But I mean, they still, not that we've seen it for a long time, but they are still what they originally were. I know we saw it in Picard in season 2, that the Queen was able to assimilate a dude and make mindless drones, and they were piss poor mindless drones, right? They were classic Borg in a sense, but without the augments.
Mm-hmm.
So the threat is still there.
Mm. Well, as we heard from Aaron, though, the nanoprobes are essentially useless right now because they didn't throw in the tubules to the kids. They can't do that in form of assimilation anymore, so they're going back to the older style. They're strapped to a table. So
Way slower.
Yeah.
Way less efficient.
Yeah. Sebastian, though, €5. Almost added Tholians. They are scary. The Borg were demystified. What makes them scary is their power, but the Romulans are scheming bastards. Hey, you can never know if you can trust a Romulan. That's the other thing about the Borg, that being able to negotiate with them just doesn't make sense. Their whole mantra of resistance is futile. You will adapt to service us. We're just coming after you. Again, that's scary as opposed to, hey, let's talk. I know we have this common enemy. Let's work together. It's like, yeah, that's not scary anymore, guys.
But isn't it almost more scary because it means that they can then decide to come after you versus react? Because originally it was your advanced technology. So that's why the Raven in Voyager was able to track and go with a Borg cube for as long as they had to, because they weren't a threat and they weren't technologically able. So Borg are very easy to deal with. You know, the Best of Both Worlds team beamed aboard and they could have walked around indefinitely and not been seen. As soon as you add some other entity with some other higher consciousness, you add that ability of, well, actually, you idiot drones, don't run on Protocol 1. Think. Use your senses. That makes them more interesting because they're suddenly unpredictable, which is good because a computer, you're sometimes even throwing in a controlled randomness to fake randomness, it creates ness of it,
Yeah. Yeah, Jasper Jedi, I think it follows the logic of the Borg, but it does eliminate some of the primal fear. And the primal fear is what I was referring to with the original Borg and why I thought they were so terrifying. It's that non-stoppable zombie-like, just relentlessly coming after you.
For most people, though, in the Federation, you would still surely be as screwed as mindless determination. If even a Borg probe, the probe ship came after you, you couldn't do anything to stop it. There's too many Borg. There's too many. You say that as if they can be stopped, but they've only been stopped in certain circumstances, and very few cubes have been destroyed. Maybe disabled in the abstract of we got away, but not stopped until Endgame. But then we had future torpedoes. That's different. So they would still come at you. They would still have 5,000 drones that could each assimilate you, and then you were now gone. Surely that primal fear is still there because they can still do it more so in the first episode. First episode, they would stick a needle in your neck, physically walk you to a chamber, and then make you watch as you get assimilated. Now it's and you feel your soul getting drained away from you, and then now you have
I wonder if that explains Ensign Lynch a little bit. It's a different kind of assimilation at that point than what happened to Picard.
Well, actually, that's interesting because I guess Picard never fought the Borg after Best of Both Worlds, did he? The actual Borg.
No, I don't think so.
No, it was Hugh only. So if he was going by the logic of, but he'd have to know the new tubules existed to know that was.
Well, he'd be briefed on everything, yeah. Or would he be? Would Starfleet be like, this guy was assimilated by them? I don't know.
How would they know? Not tell him. How would they know the Borg evolved enough to assimilate a guy with tubules, and then get the information to them? But assume he did. I kind of like that though. He knows this new Borg assimilation is so instant, and it affects you so much more deeply. If you can't kill nanoprobes, you can't. Because they didn't kill Seven's nanoprobes, they managed to reprogram them and do stuff. That was the Doctor's being a bloody genius, and several years in. So I actually kind of like that. They were more threatening, and then they could solve it after that.
Stanley says the Borg in Best of Both Worlds are overpowered, and subsequent appearances has them nerfed in comparison. That's the way a lot of enemies are, though. They seem like the Breen, even with that energy dampening weapon and actually attacking Earth. It's like, oh, good God. But still didn't see very many Breen versus Federation encounters, unfortunately. So,
despite the fantastic 3D model of the ship.
Yeah. I don't know. And you think, you got to wonder, with all the tertiary adjuncts of whatever, all the different assignments they have, you think that each cube would have its own redundant backup leader? If they do need to have a central point, that's the Vinculum, sure. But, I mean, the Queen kind of oversees everything, right? If she's out of contact or out of touch, they all have these classifications, and you think that, I don't know, then it becomes too much like a military structure. If you can't get orders from so and so, you get orders from this person instead. But that takes away all the scariness of the Borg.
Yeah, but all Borg run on the basic concept of the Borg. They're only, because if you remember, the Queen is in Endgame when the collective's getting destroyed, decimated, whatever the word is. The Queen's like, I hope there's a ship close. Look, it's Sphere 647. She didn't know the Sphere was there. She was not talking to the Sphere. There's no active connection. She had to look for it, to find it, to communicate with it. Actively. So the Queens aren't actively controlling Borg. They're there to be passive moderators. So most cubes are just doing their thing with their connective voices of the 5,000, 10,000, 100,000 Borg through the Vinculum, which I'm sure has a connection to the next level up, but not the Queen. The Queen is too important for that. So they're doing their own thing. Only the Queen, when the need to have a central going away from the processing of go assimilate is needed, then the Queen can step in and say, hello, I've got opposable thumbs of the collective, you guys just have the 4 fingers of assimilate. What do you think about that?
I don't know. I don't know what to say because I was reading comments and I missed some of it.
I was just saying the idea that she's not actually in control, because Endgame should actually reach out and gain control. So she's not actively controlling Borg. She's just actually most Borg just running their basic programming without that sort of oversight. So no cube has the Queen actively thinking about it, unless it needs to have a new thought process.
I never really thought about that, but you're absolutely right. She reaches out to each cube. I mean, she's aware of what's going on, though. When there's a battle, I'm sure she gets a little notification on her
Bing!
heads-up display.
New battle in. But that's different.
You have battle.
Yeah. Do you want to send 34 more cubes? Yes or no? Yeah, no, 100%. There's probably some automated alert, but there's too many things to think about. They're running on their own vinculums, running their own cubes, running their own subset, running their own, the collective can't run on a unified one brain controlling everything. It's too much. That's sort of the point. And that makes each cube deadly and we do see the cubes, when they lose connection with the collective, they're still as deadly, because the collective is just the grander urgency. They still have all of the normal Borg hierarchy, process, logic. They can still run as long as they have their 10,000 Borg voices. The message stays the same. It's when they have low voices can start to think. If the voices can start to think, they can start to think away from the chain. And now, as we saw with Seven's Unimatrix 01, they think as they've lost the voices in their head. Once they think, they become individuals again, etc. How can you think when you've got drowning voices? You can't.
Yeah. Interesting.
Very interesting, actually. Because Hugh was still a Borg for like a day.
Yeah.
But as he got more thinky, he became less Borgy.
How dare he? ISFJ 1009, $5. Thank you so much. They should have shown more scenes where in the background children are getting assimilated with Borg tech. That would have been nightmarish. Yeah, the maturation chambers with the little baby Borg.
Yeah.
There's some good comments here too.
Yeah.
Where is it here? Happiest gnome. Borg are iconic because so many of us have turned into stationary information workers, gazing at screens, listening on headphones, effectively embedded in the system. Schedules, processes. We are the Borg. And Irk says, I think the biggest gripe against the Borg being scary is they just have been used way too much. Hence, we've been exposed to them so much that they are just so familiar.
But also, by definition, the Borg are unlimited races, unlimited potential. The tech is unlimitedly changeable.
Yeah. Tomorrow, you could have be dealing with a different Borg because they simulated some civilization on the other side of the quadrant, which is like, yeah, exactly.
I mean, not to disagree with what you're saying. You are right, but you could change them at any given day into anything else visually. Like we saw the massive transporter tech. The Queen can transport 40,000 light years. That's an incredible piece of technology. That's insanity. That changes the game a bit. Because suddenly they've changed the game to being, rather than the Queens never get killed because they're never in a position they can be. The Borg got bitch slapped within their lives, and they don't want to kill the Queens so they can't build as many Queens anymore. So now suddenly the Queens want to live. If their cubes are under attack, they want to escape and keep the knowledge they gained. Because the Queen that died in First Contact did not manage to send the data of First Contact to the Borg, so they didn't learn from that. The Queen Endgame, I'm sure, at a certain point lost communication and then would lose. Like, you need the information to adapt. So if the Borg Queen cannot escape, it's redundant.
Han Sebi throws in €10. Thank you so much. The mindless Borg scare me more. Imagine a flagship being assimilated. The first officer is preparing to kill the command staff to preserve their knowledge while deck after deck falls.
I can. It's called First Contact.
Yes.
I was there.
Yeah. I was there. In the trenches. Now, a lot of people have been making, even over the years, but in this chat specifically, a lot of people have been making references to both Cybermen and the Daleks. Now, which do you feel are more Borg-like? You're more of a Doctor Who fan than I am, so I'm just kind of curious. I'd equate them more to the Cybermen if I had to guess, but...
Oh my god, that's a really interesting question, because...
The Cybermen don't have organic material, do they?
Yeah, it depends which version they've changed over
the years. I know the Daleks.
Yeah. That's interesting, because the Daleks, they're inside these shell suits. They can sort of still think and kill. The Cybermen are a far more literal equivalent, because the standard version, Stuart, they do change a little bit. The standard version is that there are humans who get grabbed by Cybermen, they get knocked out by a gun or a hand or something. They get taken to a vicious, brutal mutilation chamber, which cuts up a bit, puts them in a suit, connects them to that suit, and then puts a brain inhibitor into their brain so that they lose all emotion, along with a Cyberman chip that gives them the basics of who a Cyberman is, what they are. And then with that, they are still a person looking through the lens of a Cyberman and without emotion. And when you remove the emotion, you sort of create a dead person anyway, because that's huge to what a person is. That's why you have cyber leaders they're still doing something proactively, they're reacting. You can't do that by being drones like a Borg is. So they are still sentient in their own sense, but they're organic on the inside. Now, the older Cybermen are literally just people with tubing, very Borg-like, very, very Borg-like. I mean, they must have been inspired to some extent, because they're very similar. Later, they're literally a brain in a metal suit. That was a new Doctor Who, which got changed again, but that's literally what they were, where the metal is more advanced, the brain is so advanced, a computer that puts it together. In which case, that's just a metal body, etc. But they shift a bit.
How do the Cybermen seek perfection? Is that their thing too?
No, they're much more limited, and they just want to make more and be more. And just like the Daleks want to kill everything that isn't them, the Cybermen want to make you one of them because we're the best, we're the best, we're the best, we're the best. That's it, there isn't any other. They're not as interesting in a sense because they just sort of have that, and they do that.
They just want to propagate, they just want to expand.
Yeah, because they're the best sort of life, of course. It's then interesting when they fight other
Yay,
races.
Team Cybermen.
Yeah. That's why it's interesting when you fight other races, because then the vibe to which they're presenting comes into conflict. When you get the Cybermen and the Daleks fighting each other, both believing the supremacy of their own race in a very specific way, it's funny because they have their own unique perspective on very similar mentality of kill everything else except us. One is killing through violence, one is killing through conversion, although Daleks can actually kill you and then turn your body into slush that feeds Daleks. So in theory they're also feeding Daleks, but that's neither here nor there.
Gross.
Yep.
Now, are they controlled by one central thing, or like you said, they're each individual people?
Yeah, neither are controlled. Both are entirely sentient, and in fact, both actually, literally have cyber leaders or Dalek controllers who give them orders. Like, walk into the room, go do this, okay, and they leave. There's not even wireless control. Like, there sort of is in the sense of they can order up, but that's how those scenes play. As silly as that kind of sounds, like literally have to call them up and say, I guess they talk on the radio, but it's that literal.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
so they're more Cybermen for sure, but they're not. Cybermen aren't zombies. They're more assimilation monsters. Yeah, and also there's a thing that in some versions that if you ever can destroy the emotion chip suppressor, the horror of realizing you're now a Cyberman will make you go insane and commit suicide. Because you can't. It's obscenely hard to go back from being a Cyberman to the point of it happens so infrequently that it's not even a concept if your brain's in a jar inside a body, you can't come back from that. There's a few ex-Cybermen occasionally, but they're normally like butchered from it, and they really rarely go into that as a concept. Yeah. And if you want to read Ash's comment, very good summary.
The original Monda's Cybermen actually converted themselves as they felt limited by their organics. It's thought to be better.
Yeah. Okay. Well, they actually lived on an ice moon. It was actually a moon of Earth. We had 2 moons originally, and then gravity flung it away at one point. And without the sun, it was thrown through space. Without the sun, the planet became an ice moon. They moved underground, and then bloody hell, to survive on an absolutely desolate planet, they started saying, well, we're all going to die unless we try and survive this. And so they started changing body parts some technology to allow them to live in cold, and then to deal with cold, and then and at a certain point it became so much they can't deal with the amount of body modification, so the emotion chip came in, because if you're frightened of it, it's not very good to live, is it? But then once you start losing emotions, well, everyone should of course be now emotionless. That only makes sense. And then next day, everyone's Cyberman now. And then now they're just building the society to be bigger, stronger, bigger, stronger, bigger, stronger. And now it becomes a plague of, well, shit. We're now in that very specific chain of events they kind of locked into. And that's one of the most beautiful surprises of modern Who, is that in Peter Capaldi's second to last episode, he loved the original Cybermen. And Cybermen have been brought back in many ways. In fact, the original new Cybermen were from an alternate reality, and they kept reappearing despite there being no way they could reappear. But they'd built the suits and bought the technologies and thought, didn't make sense. So at a certain point they committed, fine, those guys are dead, we actually have real Cybermen because there are Cybermen in the galaxy for realsies, not just these guys. And then for Peter Capaldi's story, they actually went back to Mondas on day 1. And we had no idea as an audience it was Mondas. They played it like the true pre-destruction society, and they just played the scenario until we got Cyberman, and the original makeup and costume from the original 1960s version came back, and it looked phenomenal. It was really well done, and it was real body horror stuff, really nicely done. And those are very good episodes. But then they caveat because one of the, and spoilers, vague spoilers, there's a time dilation effect as part of the story. And so they start off as one, but they end up being the modern Cybermen because every Cyberman has a certain evolution path because they're all based on the same like designs. And so they get to be the old ones and fight the new ones by the end because that's just how they time dilated to evolve over 10,000 years. Very clever. So they got jetpacks by the end versus guy in gown in the first scene.
Yeah.
Really good, really, really good story. And Peter was very happy.
Well, Sergeant Montgomery asked, do the Borg exterminate like Daleks if the species cannot be assimilated? Well, we saw with species 8472, they just got pissed off and started chasing the Borg, and the Borg were basically trying to survive. I don't think the Borg would necessarily exterminate. That's a good question. If they can't assimilate something, I don't think they would destroy it necessarily. I don't know.
I mean, what's the point in life if you can't assimilate it, they could argue, as in the Borg. And actually, not even that vibe, but there was an episode where there was a race that was a lowercase race, not 8472, famous race, that couldn't be assimilated, and the Borg wiped them out because if news of how they could not be assimilated spread, that would create hope for other races. Remember that?
Yeah, I do, actually.
So it's the other logic. It's they need to be killed because they show it can be done. Which is definitely a higher brain thought process that goes beyond the assimilation idea. That needs to be a Queen level concept or a Vinculum level concept.
Interesting. Wow.
Interesting. But I'm going to end the poll, Stuart, because we have 74 votes. I asked, are the Borg your favourite Star Trek baddie? And yes, 59% say yes, the Borg are. 24% say nope, someone else. And I threw it in there just in case, but nope, 16% say no, Klingons are the best. So,
yeah.
Fun. I'll think on the poll.
Speaking of 52 people here, 48 likes. Guys, hit that like button. Let's try to get to 50 likes. Keep the super chats coming. We're a quarter of our way to our minimum, so any bit you can add in will really help. We want to hear anything you guys want to talk about Borg related, any ideas you have, whether you've read some of the beta canon, which might expound on things that we might not necessarily be aware of. Let us know, guys. So super chat in, please. And we have a new poll up. Who is scarier, the Borg or the Cybermen?
Thanks, pal, Mike. Good luck with that.
Now, who do you think is scarier out of the three, personally?
Of the three?
The Daleks, the Cybermen, and the Borg.
Oh, Daleks aren't scary. They're just mean.
Just bullies.
Yeah, they just kill you. There's not really anything scary there. Borg, because they're more organic. I relate to that more. You know, you throw a first contact Borg coming at you, you're fucking shitting yourself. A Cyberman, you're like, oh no, a Cyberman. Like, that's the threat. I will forever regret that we were in the building of the Borg 4D experience, but Dad was disapproving of the hour wait for the Klingon and did not want to wait again to be late to meet our friends because it was a long drive, and so we didn't do the Borg 4D. But having now seen the Borg 4D several times, the scare factor of the full Borg makeup, Mum would have hated it, but to experience being chased by the Borg for real, like, I know I would have been like, because they sometimes get close. They are not afraid of actually like pushing it a little bit. So I'm regretful I didn't get. I mean, I would have been genuinely frightened. So do it now as an adult. Although I would have totally gone as a cosplayer and brought a phaser. Like, I'm fine, we're fine, guys. I got a phaser. It's fine. Shut up, Sam. Sorry. Do you think they'd let you take your phaser rifle in? Like, because if we was open now and it was you and me, we went to Vegas and we had a full costume and phaser rifles, would they let us go in with them?
That's a good question, and I don't know the answer.
Because why wouldn't they? We're not doing anything with them, but also it would certainly be a different visual for Borg. And we're like, it's okay, guys. We both got phaser rifles. Like, that's going to entirely change the vibe a bit, especially as they've got rifles. We've got rifles too. But they can't say. I can only hope.
I can only hope that now we're in like the new age of Star
Oh
Trek that they
yes.
come up with something like that
Oh
again.
my god.
And don't do what Disney did. Don't make Galaxy's Edge be all about the new Star Wars. Do the
Oh,
classic stuff. Like they need to reopen like Star Trek: The Experience or something like that, similar again, because
Jesus
I
Christ.
totally missed out on it, and I'm so upset about that.
I
So
barely caught it though. Like we didn't even get to see Quarks. I didn't get to see any cosplayers. Like I barely had an experience. I also regret that because it was never going to. Oh no, wait, it wasn't. I don't know. But no, I agree. Yeah, that's surprising. It's been 5 years now. They've got all this money, and well, I guess COVID would have meant no one was thinking of theme parks in the meantime. I mean, that's why, obviously.
yeah,
But yeah, I mean, Trek is such an obvious theme park material. Every era, and even from a realistic standpoint, every era, every costume, every baddie. But 10 guys in Klingon makeup. That people just go just to see that. You know, imagine an LA attraction that's a few corridors. It ends in a Klingon encounter on the bridge of a ship that's new, that's smaller.
yeah.
You have a gift shop. It costs $30. You
Well,
get
yeah. Even Paramount, Canada's Wonderland was owned by Paramount. They had a Star Trek gift shop. They had like Romulans, Klingons, Federation, and Ferengi all walking around the park.
yeah, damn it, yeah.
I remember that. I got the gift shop a few times. Actually, I bought this there. It's in a Starfleet Academy ring. Don't know if it'll focus on
Oh,
it, but
cool. That's weird, but cool.
yeah, Starfleet Academy ring. Delta on one side and the UFP symbol on the other.
That's super cool.
Yeah.
Did you talk to the?
And all the upper windows were all shaped like DS9 windows, and they all had like star fields behind them.
Yes. Did you get to talk to the cosplayer or the people in costume and interact them in
Yeah.
character?
Yeah, they're all in character. Actually, I'm friends with one that worked there. He had his like they gave him Monster Maroons. Like they actually had good Monster Maroon uniforms and stuff for the Federation people.
That you could buy,
so
or just the people who work there?
no, just for the people. So I don't know whatever happened to the costumes, but yeah, I don't think you could buy them. I was pretty young at the time.
Well, they're pretty expensive
But,
anyway. Not really theme park gift is like $800.
Well, yeah, like an ice cream is $40. So
It's only 20 of those. Do you remember a specific experience with any of the people in cosplay, or any of the people? No,
not really.
really, none of them stood out enough. Ah,
No. Grant McGregor, $5. Felt bad that season 2 of Picard wasn't about just making peace with the Borg. It was such a good hook. And we're never going to see Girardi or the solution to that again. At least not in
nope.
visual media. I think it'll be a comic book or
Yep,
a
they'll
novel,
jump on that, and it won't be canon. And who cares? Unfortunately,
yeah.
well, we know that Terry Matalas is not even going to address it in season 3.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't a story, so doesn't care.
Matt Boardman, I went to Canada's Wonderland too. I remember being a little disappointed there wasn't more Star Trek stuff, but the Top Gun ride was awesome. Now, that's right near the end of the Star Trek stuff, and the Top Gun ride showed up. But yeah, it was one of those things when they first launched it. It was like so many cosplayers walking around. The store had so much cool stuff. And of course, over the years, less cosplayers, less stuff in the store. Yeah, it's a shame actually. But Sergeant Montgomery, $2. Does Dal's ancestors have anything to do with the Borg? It could be a distinct possibility. Starfleet Command wants to talk to him, so who knows?
I think anything of that ilk could be more than just, please bring him back to Starfleet Command. It'd be, bring him back now! Gunpoint, do it! Like, the context there was more friendly than it had to be.
Yeah. Watch the new Elvis movie. You get so many shots of Star Trek experience at the Hilton. Really?
Was Elvis alive during the experience? I thought he
No.
died.
Died like in the 70s, didn't he?
I thought he died a long time before Star Trek became a thing. Oh, is it a movie where Elvis is really alive and he's a Trekkie and they actually into the real Elvis? He's like 70 and he has.
He's working at Quark's bar.
Yeah, he was. Because that's the only way you can hide him if he wears full Ferengi makeup. Thank you, here's a 4-bar, go down.
Oh no, Cardassian sunrise with that? Uh-huh.
And everyone walks out saying, hey, Billy, yeah, our Ferengi, our bartender, does he remind you of anybody? A Ferengi? No, it's totally Elvis. Yeah, I thought that was weird. I guess an Elvis impersonator pretend to be a Ferengi. Nope, real Elvis. That's the only way. It's the only job he gets, Stuart, full makeup.
And it's not like they filmed the movie while the experience was open.
So how do
I
we
don't know.
see?
That's weird, Matthew.
There have to be CG shots of it then, because who even filmed it in HD?
Sebastian, €2. Elvis died in '77. Yeah, that's what I thought. Huh. You can unborg full Cyberman. Full Cyberman is permanent.
And also, the experience opened in 1998. Wow.
That's way late, too. Holy shit! When did it close?
Oh, well, 2013. I'm guessing. That's why I'm gonna. 2008. Okay. So it was over 10 years. Ah. God, if we'd been Trekyards, I could imagine us doing yearly trips there.
Oh, hell yeah.
Especially as gas prices are cheaper. And like interview all the actors in costume and work with the people to say, hey, can we do a fan film into SD set, please? Can we please have 7 Borg volunteers from your experience to film in a fan film? Wow, the film looks so good. How'd you do it? Well, I just filmed the sets they had.
Yeah. Elvis went back home. Yeah.
It's such a thing to do theme parks on, to do rides on, especially with. I mean, even the equivalent experience is in a shuttle like that. If you need to have that roller coaster vibe at the end, being in a shuttle is all you need, and it flies around. And just watch it. It's all you need for an experience. I mean, that is all the Klingon was. You walked through some sets, you went onto the bridge, you watched a video, you went into a shuttle ride, and you moved. That's it, and it was beautiful. It's all you need. And what's great about that, if they did it nowadays, you have you build 3 bridges, which is fucking incredible by itself. 3 different, and each one rotates what scenario. So like they have say it takes 10 minutes and have 7 minutes. Say you do 4 an hour, and they alternate. Or 3 an hour, and they do 1 scenario each. But they have 9 scenarios, so you can, because it's the same set, you just watch a different alien attack or a different whatever. The shuttle goes to a different mission. So you can do it 9 times with the same set. But you build 3 versions of the set, so you have 3. Or in fact, you build one that's battle damage. Oh goodness.
Here's what we got to do. Let's stop talking about this.
Okay.
And let's do a live talking about the Star Trek theme park experience. What we would do.
Star Trek the Experience 2. Yes.
Trekyards edition.
Stuart, we may have already done
Sponsored by Trekyards.
We may have already done this once, but we'll do it in canon. It's fine.
Well, not really. It was briefly touched upon, I think, during that whole thing. Maybe.
Just isn't canon. It's a different sort of canon. Yes, go ahead.
It's an alternate Trekyards canon.
It was.
Anyway, back to the Borg. Why are they iconic? They're iconic because...
Oh yeah, Borg.
They were very unstoppable and couldn't be reasoned with. And that's terrifying, especially to a utopian society like the Federation, where you don't need money, you can do whatever you want to do, you're perfectly happy and content. You don't need to be in Starfleet. You can do anything, honestly. And then to lose your individuality, that's the thing they always harp on, losing your individuality in Star Trek. It's a terrifying concept. Not having control over your body, not having control over your destiny or your future. I think that's what makes it terrifying. The fact that you're still... I don't know if you're still conscious necessarily as a Borg, that you're missing something.
You is not conscious. The Borg you is conscious.
Yeah, kind of like me in the morning.
Me in the morning? Yeah, very much so.
And we're both bad in the morning, both of us. which makes Trekyards trips very fun. Mark Lawrence, $10. Speaking of Trekyards trips, essentially Star Tours, but use the runabouts as the vehicle.
Ooh.
It's so easy now,
dude. That's great.
Runabout would be super good
because that's a full set.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and imagine you get like a $300 package where it takes like 2 hours, and you have lunch in the back room. As part of the story, and they give you like they replicate a lunch, meaning they go up to this place, and a door opens, it slides out. Look, I made you a thing. It wasn't there a minute ago. There you go. See, it's easy. Yes. And because there are LED walls in every window, you're actually flying at warp while you're doing it.
Yeah,
and you can walk up to it and be like, "Well, shit."
You see the screen flicker and you freak out on Archer. How dare you trick me?
Where's Dogo?
Ozzy throws in $5. Elvis went back home to his planet. Men in Black. Yes.
Nice.
And Brett Barrow is here. Hey, Brett. How's it going? $5.
Hey, Brett.
A Trek theme park live would be awesome.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. We would stream live from there for sure.
I think it meant our thoughts about a Trek theme park. But yes, all that.
I know, but the way it was worded, I'm like, yeah, I would definitely stream live there, yeah.
If and when we ever go to Star Trek sets again, we can certainly schedule a time and do a... It can't just be random, it's got to be purely to turn up for it and, super chat and have comments and questions, It's fun to have questions and thoughts. Yes.
So I don't know. Why do you think that the Borg are so iconic? I mean, I kind of did the whole utopian losing yourself thing.
Because I certainly agree, but that's... You're going higher brain level. The first visceral reaction to when the Borg pop in, you're not thinking, oh no, I'll lose my individuality. Like, that's not what... Subconsciously, maybe, it's not what you're actively thinking. I mean, this guy's a good example, because he looks dead, white face. So you're seeing a dead body... in black, in things that don't work with who you are. There's so little of you visible, it's all covered in black. You're moving unlike a human, you're not talking. They do blink, but they're not speaking. It does factor into the walking corpses vibe. They're reanimated walking corpses. And they don't talk, you can't reason. As soon as you start talking and reacting, they're not... people understand human cues. Most people understand most human cues. If you went to a supermarket and just stayed entirely stony-faced and just walked around, someone's going to notice. Or, walked, stiff. You'll get noticed because it's just so wrong. Similar thing.
And the thing is, too, you're not actually dead.
No.
If you believe in an afterlife, that's out of the question. Because now you're basically being sustained by nanotech.
That's really true,
so you're alive, and they even said in Voyager, in the one with the small collective, they can be themselves when they dream, like when they are offline.
Some can.
Yeah, some can.
Oof.
So that is terrifying. You're literally trapped in your own body. Sure, while you're awake, you might not have any clue of what's going on, but imagine if you still dreamed, if you still, you wouldn't die, because the nanites would keep you alive for however long, right?
That's a really, really, really good point. Yeah. And there is episodes where they do say, I remember what I did.
Yeah.
You're not turned off. Because as I extrapolated earlier, that it is also part of the idea of there's 1,000 voices, so there is none of your voice left. Even if the tech wasn't changing you mentally, just the idea of you're sedated and you wake up and you've got this cacophony of voices that you can't mentally think, and yet through that you're hearing the Borg voice, the combined voice, saying go to subjunction 7. You're like, and you just got to do it because your brain can't process anything except this. All you're thinking is the instruction, and so you're still there, you're still doing it, but you're being mentally just desensitized to what you really want. Which, is there even technology? I mean, because they say there's an implant that connects to the collective, but is it changing your brain, or is it just overriding you with the collective voice? Is it still just you, 100% you? You're just not able to process everything except the collective. That's even worse then, because you are still doing everything. You are actually doing everything. Because even when the Queen gives an order, I don't remember a single scene where the Queen like moves her hand or doesn't as if she's controlling a drone. She gives an order, the drone does the order, which means the drone is doing the command or not. So it's still an individual reaction rather than the body's taken over and it's reacting. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's a terrifying prospect,
Yeah.
actually, when you look at it that way. Like,
Still you.
whatever, I died, they're using my body, that's fine, but to be still conscious, at least semi-conscious, and alive. A lot of people take solace in the fact that, yeah, there's probably an afterlife of some sort. I'll move on to something different after this.
And then when they able to go into this dream state and experience quiet, a few voices to give them comfort, and then choice is all it is. You know, I get to choose to spend my free time at the lake, and then I wake up, and I'm just doing whatever I'm instructed to do. Oof.
Yeah. Kind of like somebody pointed out earlier, kind of like us, human beings. Yeah, go to your cubicle, listen to your bosses, do the memos, go home, enjoy that little bit of quiet time on a very short weekend. That's right.
Well, that's the thing.
Terrifying.
That's the thing. When you take it as walking zombies that are robotically controlled, they're just dead bodies. But I think we all knew that they were mentally overloaded with what to do, and that's why we relate to them so strongly. Cybermen are far more like they're being controlled by a chip. The chip is making them do something. There is no choice. The Cybermen are just doing what they're being programmed to do.
Yeah.
Which is why Daleks are horrible, because they are all choosing to kill. That's their entire purpose of being. It's so clear and clear of clarity. Yeah.
Well, Matt Boardman throws in $10. Thank you so much, Matt. I think the Borg work because they scare us. It's the thought of losing our individuality combined with an almost zombie appearance. It's that living death and the fate that terrifies and intrigues us. That was very deep.
Because it's not just the mentality, it is the visuals. I think that really does grab you as well. They changed obviously throughout the years, but I do think there's a certain zeitgeist to the Borg. They just kind of worked. I mean, there's got to be some other easy enough equivalent in other sci-fi that's close, right? That didn't take off. The sci-fi just didn't work in the same way. This they did, they did.
Grant McGregor, $5.
Hey.
Star Trek Prodigy ride.
Huh.
Zero gets switched with the audience. That's also mistaken for Terratins inside her machine case. Have a giant Borg chase you.
Okay.
Grant McGregor, $5.
Thank you.
The only way I think the Borg can get more scary is to have a cube go mad and rip itself and others apart, assimilating from limb to limb. And on that note, it's time for an ad. As this ad assimilates you limb from limb. Wow, that was a terrifying ad.
I do think they would be a lot scarier, I'm sure you'll agree, Stuart, that if in somewhere in the 90s there was a Borg cube specifically where they showed a room of body parts, arms, legs, like humanoid, and they all had because you see it occasionally, like the stump with a connection point. So they all have a connection point, and so they would literally assemble Borg from other species' body parts.
It would be like Frankenstein.
Frankensteining
a monster together.
But it comes together and it kind of looks like a normal, like it looks like a normal Borg, but like it is not even you anymore. It's been you are just ripped apart like that. I think would be a lot scarier. but then it'd be far more of a machine creating you. Part of it is that you are still almost all you. That's why Locutus is scary, because he was still Picard with shit added. Right?
Mm-hmm.
And what do you think? Would that be a much scarier Borg if they did that?
It would. Absolutely. And you kind of get a little of that in First Contact with Data.
Yes.
With half his face, like almost like there was another piece of face sewn on.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of gives that Frankenstein visual. So
and you do see a scene where they do rip off like a guy's arm is put on. There are those moments. I'm just saying, as an entire concept of literally arm to leg to arm to leg to hand, even like the whole thing, kind of like Crichton from a Dwarf, like new hand, new hand. Because that takes any humanity away. Then you're just keeping the face because why not? Or as a Prodigy, or you have a Hammerhead. You know, not even that. But then you're just a robot. And then it becomes less scary. You're just a clearly dead, not conscious, you can't redeem them, can't save them being, just wants to take... Like, it's too sci-fi then. You need that really dark grounding of, but you could save them. You got saved. All of Unitary 1 got saved. 7 got saved. 7's dad got... Oh.
Well, yeah. No, I agree. A room full of like body horror and Borg, I think would add to the scariness for sure. Get a little of it, but yeah.
Which, in fairness, is the Queen. But like, as far as they've gone, like she's literally assembled from pieces. But we know she's not a real person. We know she's a construct entity that is not, like, literally she is a created head and spine. There is no organic left.
Yeah.
It's a body. It's a mechanical with a human shell attached with human body parts attached to that. Like, she's entirely a robot, with like in essence, you know.
Yeah. Who said it here? Hold on. Oh, Mark Lawrence says, I got a Borg-related ad. Scientology. Yeah, that's scarier than the Borg, man.
Don't know they're out to ads. Oh yeah, it was surprised.
56 likes with 47 people here. If you haven't hit like yet, give that like button a tap.
Mm-hmm.
Keep the super chats coming. We're getting close to our minimum, so a couple more and we'll be there. So yeah, help us out if you can. Any thoughts you have on the Borg, why you think they're iconic, why you think they're terrifying, let us know. We want to talk about it.
Do you think that, and I think I know what you're going to say to a certain amount, but when CGI became a thing and Voyager used them as a foe rather than a apocalypse device, and you can see more than one cube, is the fact that you see more than one cube destroying the Borg as well? Because when you have a single cube, that's all you need. By having a fleet of cubes, you're saying, well, what if one cube can't do it? Does that hurt them, or does the scale improve that?
I think the scale improves it, honestly.
Really?
Even games like Armada and stuff, where you've got the Borg, like with the planet assimilators, just turn towards the planet, like launch the nanotechnology into the planet. That's also terrifying, because if you're on the planet's surface, you don't need to encounter a Borg. You just all of a sudden everything around you starts to change, and you get infected that way. That's almost more terrifying than seeing the Borg coming at you, because you don't know when and if it's going to happen. That stuff's not canon, that planet assimilation tech, but it's still pretty cool visual for sure. So, but I think a fleet of cubes is absolutely terrifying, more so than just one. So. Yeah.
Because I love the fleet because it just makes it like but there is something to be said for a single, because then as soon as you have to move a camera away from something to show more than one, the scale feels smaller. But that one shot on First Contact where it comes in the corner and it gets hit by torpedoes, the fact that it takes up half the screen for the entire shot, we know it's just like the bottom 10th. That scale we don't ever get in Void. Well, you know what I mean, like that sort of feel anyway. But then you get a fleet, and then you amp up the vibe with that.
The more intimidating thing than a fleet is actually a Borg fusion cube. Like just 8 cubes, and then yeah.
Yeah, no, 100%. I hope they include that at some point because it's cool. It's just hard to show because it's so giant.
Yeah. PM says, for me, the scariest aspect of the Borg is the physical process of being assimilated. Other bad guys in Star Trek just kill you. The Borg basically tear your body apart from inside with technology. Not necessarily tear it apart, but convert you into something that you're not. Yeah. I think the older Borg would be more off limbs and replace them with like hand attachments and stuff, more so than the newer Borg that do the tubules, honestly, because that just reconfigures whatever you're wearing or in stuff in your arm.
Yeah, self-replicates and some stuff.
Yeah.
Bigger stuff it can't obviously do, but yeah, it's you can make 1,000 of those Borg and they're still just as deadly.
Yeah. Well, 49 votes on the poll and 49 people here. If you haven't voted on the poll, go vote on the poll.
Mm-hmm.
Grant McGregor, $10. I do miss the OG Borg as an adult, scooping up tech from the planet, being a reflection of the Federation symbolically. And Borg babies. I miss the Borg babies. That was a weird twist, yeah. Which we never see again, really, unfortunately. But yeah, as somebody said earlier, it'd be scary to see like children being turned into Borg. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to know the rationale of that from a writing standpoint, because are you assimilating babies or are you making new babies? Because both are horrible, but why would you want to wait years for them to grow up? I think in
what you don't know,
okay.
What you don't know, right beside the Borg maturation chamber is the Borg boom chicka wow wow chamber. Boom chicka wow wow. Sorry. Go ahead. I think they were assimilating babies. I mean, if they assimilate whole planets, whole ships, would you just kill a potential drone because it's young, or would you start the assimilation process early? But they'd be effectively useless for a long time.
Like, I think they say in Voyager they speed up someone's growth.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just wouldn't assimilate the babies. They're useless.
They're useless.
There's no point. I mean, there's no point in assimilating a baby. And they have no knowledge to assimilate. They have no effect. Yeah, it's entirely useless. Now that's why making babies is very interesting, because A, that implies either horrible Borg drone rape situations, or by genetics. But if they're breeding Borg to adapt situations, now that becomes scary. Using biological life forms as a way. So if there's a plague, we have to make babies to try to kill them with the stuff that you're afraid to get killed of, and then once you make Borg that are adapt, they can then give that information and everyone else. That's useful potentially.
What would make the Borg more scary is like gene therapy, almost like combining different species together, combined with the cybernetic implants, to create perfection. Like, a species that's very strong with one that's really smart, combine their DNA. Again, it kind of goes back to the Frankenstein thing, depending on how you portray it. There's lots of potential there for different, scarier Borg almost. So.
When in fact, that is a little bit...
Borg breastfeeding.
I mean, that's a little bit what 7 of 9 was, because she was a child. Not a baby, but a child. Now, there is some logic to if you can interfere with the growth process very early, then you can modify how you assimilate to make them more able to take on more implants, more tech. The body will then grow with that tech, and then you create a Borg, because all the human adult Borgs we saw got all the stuff was fully removed. It was in her for a decade doing its stuff. She grew with it, so it's so integrated they just can't remove it. But she had a personal shield when she was only like 1% assimilated. So there could be some argument of, I don't want to say babies, but, children assimilation, they're just more capable because they're being literally grown with the tech, and so you create these more super Borg that are not drones in a sense. They're not the simple beings. They're able to be far more integrated. Maybe there is something to do with, which you'd think they could work around, but maybe the human brain, as it grows, it can take on information. If you flood it with Borg technology, it'll grow to adapt. Like the human body will adapt with the tech and get better for it. I wouldn't necessarily assume every Borg could remember as much as Seven does. So maybe she was equivalent of an Uber Borg, which is why she was then Unimatrix 01 and a Queen helper person, because she was a specialist creation. Creating drones versus assimilating drones.
Interesting. It's kind of like the next evolution of the Borg.
Mm-hmm. And you can't do it for most things, most people, but use it when you can.
Well, Stuff Fan says, wait. Sudden thought. Why do we hardly see any female Borg? I can only think of 7 of 9 and the Queen. Well, there's some female Borg in this last episode of Prodigy, for sure. Mm-hmm. I'm sure there was 1 or 2 in First Contact.
Well, there's the lady that was Seven's Unimatrix 01 compadre lady. There was many ladies in Unimatrix 01. Plenty of ladies.
Yeah.
But you're right, it's certainly less rare, more rare. I would assume because they don't want to have to put women through the same makeup. Like, if there's a choice of what alien do you want to be, the male say, fuck it, just put stuff on my face. Women be like,
Women put shit on their face every day.
I know, but they could still be that and not do the Borg stuff, so...
Yeah. Sergeant Montgomery could be an assimilated woman that was pregnant. Yeah, absolutely. That could be why they had the Borg baby.
Yeah, that'd be logical. Yeah, no. that'd be smart. Not smart. But...
Those weren't the tubular Borg at that point. Mm-hmm. That was still the old style Borg when they assimilated. So. I imagine Tholians would melt any drone that got close. Well, as we saw in this last episode of Prodigy as well, there are different Borg. Like, there's different species. We always see the humanoids in the live action just because it's easiest. But I'm sure there are other type of Borg that would be able to deal with the heat if they needed to assimilate a Tholian. Assimilated Tholian, that's an interesting thought. That'd be a great visual.
And I just assume the first 3 Borg would get killed. The 4th Borg has a shield that's now tuned for dealing with heat. I mean, it would be that easy.
Yeah.
Maybe their shields won't last forever, but I mean, how much do you need to do to kill a Tholian, etc.? But also, how can you connect a neural network of nanoprobes to a crystal brain? I mean, they might not want to assimilate.
How can you assimilate a non-corporeal entity?
Mm-hmm.
There are ways to do things. So. Seven's mom, yeah, she was a Borg. There were quite a few Borg women, actually, now that I think about it, especially in Voyager and stuff. Well, guys, I'm kind of running out of ideas, things to talk about here, so...
We burn twice as bright, Stuart.
Yes. We need your input. So, and like I said, a few more super chats to kind of hit our minimum would be amazing.
At least another 40, but 65 would be best. So literally throw a few 5s in, we'll zip up there really, really quickly. But it's, I really wish, and you've now seen part 1 of our chat with Aaron, because it was too much for him in one part. The second part has very specific questions that had to be, anyway. I really wish some of his answers were in the show, like directly about the nanoprobes, directly about their need to old school it up. Because if that was in the episode, legitimately in the episode, in full context, to have modern Borg with all the advanced technology have to go back to manual assimilation, that's almost really scary, because they aren't a plague anymore. They're a we're going to work hard to get you. We're going to beam right in. We're going to send a strike team to physically grab you. We're going to grab you and we're going to stun you. And like there's more of a visceral nature.
We have deadlines. We have quotas. Come on, people.
Well, especially if, if say they said also that like transwarp is a damaged technology, so they're stuck where they are, but they want to assimilate like in the local vicinity. Now you've got, like I say, a cube that wants to make a collective. Like maybe they had a line where they said, each Borg ship needs a minimum of 1 million voices to be stable. You only start with 50,000. So they're out assimilating, and they got 30 cubes in the Alpha Quadrant, all needing 1 million voices. And once you get 1 million, you want more. So now suddenly you have this threat of these Borg cubes, which are each individually super, super hard to deal with. And that more gruesome idea, because there's a certain sleekness of walking up to it and going, done. Like, it's so quick and easy that the horror is the post, but to get physically grabbed and walked into an assimilation chamber and to watch your body getting fucked, like, there's different horrors there, and that's certainly another. You could reintegrate that as a horror element, the slowness of it,
Yeah. Picard had time to cry at one point. Like, he realized what was happening to him when he was on the table. So.
Yeah. Well, exactly.
Stuff Fan says it's also nice to be in a live stream where you get your ideas in rather than go against 2,000 people. Yeah, and even if we had 2,000 people, we read every super chat. So we'll always continue to strive to do so because you guys are helping us, you're supporting the channel, and you earn that. Other channels don't do that, and that's really annoying.
Yep.
So.
Yes, if you want to be part of the conversation actively, you can be. There's no other way of looking at that.
Yeah. Grant McGregor, though, throws in $10. You mentioned Borg breeding. Going back to the last Prodigy episode, if they could assimilate a Medusan, why not also Ronan from Sub Rosa or Apollo, then make deadlier beings? You got to find them. You got to get them in a position where you can do that. You got to remember, she was Zero. He was uploaded to the Venculum.
Yeah.
He was
right there,
like in the Venculum. So they had all of the Borg that were in that cube focused on him. So, and gods like Apollo and stuff can or Q can wink a Borg cube out of existence or fling it, millions of light years away. It's easier said than done in most cases. So
it's also fun when they're limited in their small degree.
Yeah.
Infinite power.
Species 8472 was awesome. That they just couldn't be assimilated and turned on the Borg like, you bastards. Come into our space or our dimension and mess with us? No way. You're done.
We're going to fight back.
Yep.
Fight back.
All right. Yeah. So close to our minimum, guys. Super chat.
So are we, Professor. So are we.
Yes, absolutely.
I mean, it's definitely a race I would like to see more of, but done in the Voyager way. Personally, if you're gonna, I don't want a reinvention of the Borg, because I would like, still reboot them again. It's like if I had been there in the 80s, I would have probably asked for a continuation of the TNG Borg. But we got a lot of development. 26 episodes a year, 7 seasons. You ain't gonna get 26 episodes, 7 seasons ever again. So if you say, right, we'll do the Borg again, even in Picard season 2, they were only in a couple of episodes, and some was good, some was very bad. So they're never going to be able to develop it the same way again, ever again, without fully committing to an entire season. And so whereas Voyager, once they're done, okay, great, that was a great evolution, fine, you got 30 episodes. They won't do that again now, so they'll never have the depth. So I'd rather continue the line than reboot the line, like with Borgati. I mean, that was. Alright.
Aaron Palmer says, long-time watcher here. Well, thank you very much, Aaron.
Hi, Aaron.
Thanks for joining us. Thanks for watching. We really appreciate you guys. Without you, there would be no Trekyards, so keep it up. Keep watching.
We make everything free, so everyone can watch it. I hope support back so we can make it all free. We want it all free.
Exactly.
Like our episode on our organic bat left today. The blink and you'll miss it, because some people have missed it, weapon that Gwen created in Star Trek Prodigy last episode. Which I guess also makes a precedent. She can make things like the Jem'Hadar's weapon or other such.
Yeah.
Famous.
Yeah.
And maybe they could, wouldn't that be kind of cool if they could retcon, like, they finished the animation, but they were given like $1,000 to go back in and replace episode 9's weapon with the Klingon weapon that Worf's used in season 3 of Picard. Just change the model out. Aha, look! We did it first, Picard.
Matt Boardman, I think it would be fun to explore the story of the PC game Star Trek Borg again. Yeah, I after this episode, I went and watched the full playthrough of that on YouTube, and I actually posted this little clip. There's a Q says, "Let sleeping Borgs lie," and then they get attacked. It's actually kind of funny. So
I wish they still made stuff like that. My God.
I know.
And it's like the Klingon one was directed by Jonathan Frakes. Like, it feels like Trek. It's not some cheap garbage. Like every classic Klingon actor's in it and having fun with it, and it's full makeup, and they're using the TV set, so nothing feels overly cheap. Like, it's shockingly good. And Borg, they just used the Excelsior Bridge. They've just redressed it. Yeah. Because they had it, and they built a couple of corridors, and like, it was great. Like, it's a little bit crap, but I mean, it's just like basic TV versus film. But like,
some good actors in it too.
But like, do you really want a click and play adventure on the La Serena sets? Because that's all they've got standing. I mean, on all Discovery, like, I wouldn't want them on any of those sets. And there is no lower deck set.
The Strange New Worlds one.
So yeah, fine, yeah. But I'd still be thinking the entire time, damn, wish this was TOS. Whole time.
I know. Exactly. Yeah.
Although that says they kind of still want Ticonderoga. God, imagine that. 50k, pick and choose adventure, Netflix exclusive. Like they did that one. They had 10 endings, and they bring in TOS actors, alive and dead. Wait, I mean alive and new actors to play new roles. I mean, yeah. So Walter Koenig's there doing voiceover, like as like you're talking to Chekhov on the bridge, and it's really Walter Koenig doing Chekhov. Wouldn't that be cool? Yeah, I'd be okay with old Chekhov. So you're on the Enterprise and you're doing a point. Oh my God, how crazy would that be?
Oh shit, we've given him another idea.
You're actually talking to Kirk on the bridge. He sounds like old Kirk, but that's okay. But like, he's actually interacting with you, and and maybe like in the story you see like a cosplayer who's a very similar haircut, and he walks past the corridor, and it's like, oh, it's Kirk. Like, you get a sense of that was Kirk, etc. Or Stuart, that guy from the Octane Project who looks like bloody slightly older Nimoy with bloody prosthetic and shit. Like, hire him. Can't say anything, but he just says this as you walk in. Although it's obviously a video game, but damn, I'd buy that. And that'd be so cheap as well. All the sets are built. Okay, fine. Bring in a new lighting crew. Yes, fine. That'd be so cheap. Yeah. And that would sell. 10 seasons, Stuart.
Though, $5.
Hey.
Back to your gene therapy idea. Do you think the Borg would go purely organic with their bodies? No. They're striving for perfection. All organic bodies are susceptible to some form of virus or injury. Right now they have a hybrid of robotic and organic to have a cybernetic body. I think their ultimate goal would be to be non-corporeal. But by the time you become non-corporeal as a species, you've developed the enlightenment to be so. You wouldn't be so malevolent as to want to turn everybody into you. So it's one of those trade-off things. I don't think they would go full black. No, I don't think they would.
Honestly, I think that so they want perfection, but they don't know what it really means. And as
they need to assimilate Trekyards then, obviously.
Oh, if only. I mean, perfect facial hair right there, Stuart, with you. There you go.
No, it's not, though. It's actually not.
But their idea of perfection will evolve as they evolve. So it's a never achievable goal. the omega particle is perfection. That doesn't help them. They can't be omega particles. Doesn't mean anything. Like they mean it's a thematic, literal. It is a perfection particle. Doesn't help them, and so they'll never be perfect. And Data is not perfect because he's susceptible to many things. He's obviously a more advanced synthetic life form, but with other flaws. And if they want to make a Data, they would have made a Data by now. There's been thousands of species. You can't tell me none has ever developed a synthetic-looking humanoid. Not realistic.
But not a positronic brain, man.
I mean,
that's
we don't
the important thing.
But there's other brains, I'm sure, that work as well, just different. So, yeah, I feel like it's a non-achievable goal. That's part of the fun, isn't it? There isn't a real endpoint. It's disease that needs more and more and more and more and more. And that's why the Queen herself is a fun concept, because she isn't really a person with a goal. She's an amalgam of the needs and impulses. So she's always looking for more, but there's not really an end goal. So there's this lustful, in need person is a visualization of the Borg, who can never be left satisfied. Always wanting the next thing.
Yeah. Sergeant Montgomery asks, why is it that the Q continuum never provoked the Borg? Thoughts? I don't know. Aaron kind of touched on that too. Could be that for some reason the Q are afraid of them. Maybe a Q did get assimilated at one point, and they had to deal with it. So there's a possibility that they will be assimilated.
And guys, we're only $50 away from our true minimum, so that'd be super if you can help us get there. We're real close, a couple of tens, etc., and we do need that. So I said to Aaron as well. Remember one thing about that, right? When Q says don't provoke the Borg, which Borg? Does he mean Borg that day? Does he mean Borg from the 32nd century? Does he mean Borg from the 40th century? There's going to be a Borg in one time that provide strong enough. And who's to say?
The Q continuum is non-linear, so
just the Borg as a concept, and not just that. But if you deal with the Borg earlier than you're meant to, and they learn about you, they can scan you and maybe adapt to you quicker. So imagine if you're traveling the timeline and you accidentally do a thing with them in 2140, they get a look at you, they've now advanced quicker, they're now a bigger threat that you're trying to avoid by in the century 4000. They've barely fought them in the year 4000, and you're like, well, we just brought that forward 100 years. Well, shit. We've got to redo the war again that we were doing at the same time because we're non-corporeal and non-linear. So I don't take it as literally the Borg we see. We see 29th century-esque Borg, and he could do really amazing things. That already is way more capable. A 32nd century Borg, a 45th century Borg, just the,
Yeah.
And maybe the Q, as Aaron said, are evolved humans. Or what if evolved life forms, not humans? But what if they evolved in the year 8743 and became non-linear? So then they existed backwards in time as well. So their Borg in the year 4753, don't fuck with them. And they keep that reverberation back through time, because let's just not piss off the ants while they're still tiny before they evolve into giant man-eating crazy things. So I got to think it's got to be bigger than the line implies. That's just
I like that, because the Q they don't exist in our time necessarily. They just exist, just like Cisco. They exist anywhere they need to, essentially. So yeah, who knows what they've seen from the Borg? Just the idea of the Borg, maybe. Who knows? Will we get answers? Probably not. But it's good. It's one of those mysteries that I like having around, because you just never know. Once it's answered, it's like, oh, that was underwhelming. Shit. Yeah. And it could be that the Q continuum is, in fact, the final destination for humankind. We just evolved non-corporeally like 5,000 years in the future and become the Q, and then go back and mess with other primitive humans named Picard. Don't know. 61 likes, 49 people here. Has anyone not hit that like button? If you haven't, please do so. We've got 64 votes on the poll, which will end right now. Who is scarier, the Borg or the Cybermen? The Borg win it at 78%. And 22% for the Cybermen. And yeah, Ryan, it's probably something along those lines. They just don't want to risk the possibility that the Borg could assimilate or get into the collective somehow.
Well, I was visualizing, as you were saying all that I'm assuming a Borg, at some point, found a way onto that dirty road. And you imagine reading that same paper, and suddenly a collective drone walks up to you, and you're like, well, this is different. And then shit ensues. Yeah, that once happens once, you'll feel violated, and you're a non-corporeal being that's used to playing with the universe. That's going to scar you as an entity, as a race.
And considering all the species and civilizations that the Borg have assimilated, we've seen multiple times in Star Trek that other civilizations are experimenting with this or that or whatever. So who knows what kind of technology they got a hold of that could have allowed them access to that area,
and
to that dirty road.
It took once in the year 3000 to piss them off to...
Yep. So yeah.
Oh my god. What if the Q are the Borg, the future Borg, who assimilate to become perfect?
Ooh.
I don't even think it'd be a bad retcon, because that would be a perfect life form that can exist anywhere, be anywhere, do anything, not age, not food, not eat. The only non-perfect thing is get bored, but not everyone would that be an interesting retcon? The Borg become Q?
It would be. Would be, because they're in search of perfection, and honestly, non-corporeal.
Yeah.
The Q basically are perfection.
Yeah.
They can do They can do anything essentially. So.
I mean, it'd be obviously a version of the Borg, like not the classic Borg, but a certain set of Borg did it. And so John Delancey used to be a Borg, and then you hard cut to a shot from Star Trek Borg, and it's like, yep, there he is. Proof.
Yeah, he was done up like a Borg in that. It was great.
I mean, that's a weird. I mean, it ties them in too closely, obviously, but that's not. And then don't provoke them is their code word of saying don't reveal ourselves, because the more we deal with them, the more they'll work out with them. That's cool.
Mm-hmm. Terrifying.
Mm-hmm.
Grant McGregor, $5. Alorian, Q, and the Borg are connected through a story still unknown. Yep, they are.
The only problem with that is that they had no idea what they were doing, so
it's true.
It's an absolute leap in the dark, and they have no. It's a J.J. Abrams style mystery box.
Yes, let's mention this thing. With they'll never go anywhere. Nobody will ever speculate on it. Oh wait, Star Trek fans.
Exactly. So yeah. But there's so many of those one note. I mean, TOS. How many times they say like ancient aliens are actually this, and this.
Yeah. Hello, Foley of Borg. Hello, Trek reviewer of Borg. What, no hello for Commander Talkings of Borg? Chris Jericho, the Before Dishonor novel explores the idea of assimilating a Q. Cool. And Sylvia's outside. She says it's cold outside. Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Come on, guys. We're almost at our minimum. Let's do it. Another $35. 40 honestly, but $35 would do it. So one $20 super chat would make a hell of a difference. If anybody wants to go for that last super chat slot, Grant McGregor currently has it. So, and if you haven't hit like yet, hit like. If you're watching this after the fact, drop us a super thanks. This has been a fun discussion, actually. I wasn't sure where this was going to go, but it was an interesting idea for sure. And we've kind of gleaned a few good insights. So,
and it is recorded for posterity.
Or until YouTube collapses.
Also true.
Chris Davies, love the Borg. In TNG, they were a match to our future. and all of the great tech, showing there's still challenges, etc. Hmm. Dan Bannon, originally the aliens from Conspiracy were supposed to be the connected to the Borg. Yes, they were. But that was soon dropped because that was just stupid. Ucash 1989 says, "I'll be going back and watching the rest of this Borg. Is a great topic to watch. Yes. And please share it around. Share it to anybody else that you think would do like this kind of discussion. And make sure they're subscribed. Make sure you're subscribed. Do all those things. You know the routine.
And we can confidently say yep, say that this episode of Prodigy is one for the old school fans to check out. To make sure you are checking with that as well. And of course, to have our editor review, our spoiler review, and our big old breakdown. We like doing, and we know Prodigy team mean real well. And a lot of things they can't put in is because of reasons versus lack of knowing. Whereas
Aaron wanted to include a lot of explanations, and I didn't have the time to do it. So,
whereas we imagine Discovery writers are just like, oh, there's never been this, and we're like, oh, it was. No, you didn't check properly. Sometimes.
Yes. Sergeant Montgomery throws in $1 going for that super chat slot. So thank you so much. We just need like 39 more of those and we'll be good. Yeah. I don't know. I'm kind of out of things to say.
Well, it's 2 hour mark. Stuart's allowed to be. A-okay.
Holy shit, we are at the 2 hour mark.
Well, yeah.
Wow.
But guys, keep your eyes and ears peeled because I'm going to be releasing a new Trek Shorts trailer at the weekend, which should be fun. Promoting another one of the films that have been filmed this time. That's the other one which was hopefully filmed. Indiegogo is still going, still over 20 days to go. Need a lot more support, so hopefully you guys will jump in near the end and put in a few 5s and 10s here and there because I'm in severe personal debt, so any amount helps. Ha 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 ha. We've got a few more things to film this next 4 months, 3 months, 2 months, a bit. We've got a very fun shoot coming next week. We haven't shot anything for a good month and a half. I was trying to raise funds, like personal funds, about spending, and my PC died, and I spent it all. It's great.
I know.
It's great. I was like, yes, I've got a bit of bank, and then nope, no bank. So I'll be spending more than I've earned. Yeah, I'll spend basically my entire salary of this month on filming this month. No more. Yeah, 2 shoots. Yeah. Once again, spending more than I'm earning this month to shoot stuff this month. Yeah.
Grant McGregor. Grant McGregor, $10. So thank you. Only like $20 away now, guys.
It's true.
A tangent on time travel. What if not everyone signed the Temporal Accords after the Cold War? People fled as time refugees, and others had their civilizations go back in time to become a new race. Well, that's totally possible. Ooh. There's no way everybody's going to agree not to use time travel. That's just always just stupid.
Well, not just
Ryan
that.
K, that's not very damn funny. How many fingers am I holding up?
Well, it's not just that, Stuart, but they only signed the treaty on the 15th of September, but they can still time travel on the 12th of September. We'll have to do is go back to time to 10th of September and then do time travel for another 2 days. Because they're not going to go back and destroy the time travel tech when their race invented it. Because then the race, someone else on the planet would invent it later. You know, and then that'll change history. They've got to agree not to use it now. But yeah, you know what I mean. It's a weird thing to say. The Temporal Accords by themselves. That's why you need time cops, the legitimate Federation approved.
Actually, do their fucking.
Pretty much.
Dan Ben, which video game do you think the Borg were scariest in? Armada 2, because they can really mess up your ships.
Oh, well, possibly Star Trek Borg, because it got so intense with them. Like, a lot of focus on them. But yeah, Armada 2's fun. Although it's quirky to see Locutus back. It's like,
yes.
huh,
and talking to Picard. Yes,
It's like, right, well, okay.
Star Trek, man. Sean T throws in $2. Yay,
Oh
lunchtime.
god, it's 11 p.m. here. Jesus.
Mark Lawrence, $5. Any chance of Borg in a future fan film, Samuel? Oh, and speaking of Samuel's fan, I guess we're waiting for another super chat there. I don't know.
Yes. See the Borg. I would love to include them. Oh god, I just did a render. Oh, I did that's for Trekyards. I've written them into someone else's fan film because it's epic. The end, like 7 minutes, is really freaking epic. It's like an action film. Because there's a great caveat. There's like a great, twist. I don't know. The Borg are tricky to write for because I can't go on a ship. I can't really fight the ship. I haven't got 3 models of drones. I can't do the Borg voice. You know?
You can modulate that though.
We could, but when I try and be as accurate as possible, and people judge me for such, if I once I start lowering the bar, etc., it's just like, oh, you couldn't do that. It's like, well, I know that the Voyager game project, they built a whole Borg cube, Borg set. I've been tempted to ask for that at some point because, there's only so many pieces of Borg cube, obviously. So then you just clone it, right? And if you just say, oh, I'm just going to appear, I'm just going to appear on a Borg ship and there's only so many scenes. I don't know. Maybe I should make that a stretch goal or like a. If anyone wants to give me $500, $1,000, I'll make a Borg short. Let's see. What did the guy do?
I guess we're not going to get a part 2 to Mark's super chat there. So.
Because I remember a very nice looking. Really good lighting as well. I mean, what would you want to see in a Borg fan film, knowing the severe limitations of a fan film?
Have one of your characters be Borgified
Jesus.
and run into another characters, and they're from the future or something. I don't know. I honestly don't know. That's a tough one. That's a very tough one.
It really is. Because the guy made a very nice looking alcoves. Oh, see, that looks very nice. Oh, what a gree blaze.
Zoran79 says Borg are iconic and scary because people don't want to admit to being a drone in modern society.
Yeah.
They want to stand out. They don't want to just blend in and be one of many.
Mm-hmm.
They want to be individuals. So yeah, it's a reflection of our daily lives, a lot of people anyway. Oh, Mark Lawrence says, just as a lead into talking about the Indiegogo. Okay, gotcha.
Yes. Yep. Indiegogo is going right now. We're 11%. 20 days to go. Lots of fun perks. We've been doing new perks at the 20-day mark. So that's pretty close. A trailer coming this weekend, and hopefully a film coming next week, which should be fun. Yeah, fun stuff.
And Aaron Palmer, longtime watcher, said film where they take prisoners out of the room one by one and Borgify them until it's the last person. Ooh, yeah. That would work.
But I can't get extras, and I don't want to do Borg makeup. I'm not gonna, unless someone's going to give me $10,000 so I can actually afford makeup. I mean, that's why I say I do everything so creatively limiting because I'm not gonna. I haven't got a team for that. I haven't got the props or makeup. That could cost my entire $30,000 to do that just to make the makeups. And then just piping. Like it might look crap. It looking crap is almost worth not doing it. Because then people just complain it looks crap. It's tricky. But maybe like a nightmare on a Borg cube could be interesting.
Well, I think we'll call it there, guys. We need another $15, so if anybody can super chat with that, that'd be great. But I think we're going to end it, and close enough to our minimum. Close enough.
But certainly, nightmaring on a cube with the alcove and spinny thing is pretty dramatic. See, but I'm already so much out of money, I can't keep thinking of new ideas without the sport, so Here's the Indiegogo link, guys. Donate anything. But really, like some more £50 would be great. Because the more money I actually have, the more I can actually make more things after this initial set.
Grand McGregor, $5. As always, in What Ifs, Borg Changelings.
Ooh.
Have a good night, guys.
Oof. Oof.
Oh, that's close.
That
Let's call it
close.
there.
Yes.
All right. So check out all of our stuff we do. We do a lot of stuff. You know,
Yes.
check out our interview with Aaron
Yes.
last weekend, and there's so.
Mm-hmm.
And join us on Friday.
Yes.
For all of our cool shit.
And you on Thursday too, in fact.
And Thursday night at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Yes, for my first hangout. So.
Show.
Yeah.
Oh.
Aaron Palmer throws in $2. Thank you so much, Aaron. Much appreciated. Yeah,
That's a Joko. Isn't a Borg changeling just a T1000? Yes.
Yeah. It's a great place to leave this episode.
That is.
All right, so until next time, he is Commander Cocky.
He is Captain Foley. And you guys have been awesome.
I am.